welcome to the sound of the start of the year and weekend on the NTT20 betting show, which is sponsored by AK Bets, and it's me, Ali Maxwell, and my returning friend and colleague, father of two, George Ellick. Hello, George.
2 children. That seems crazy, but that is what I have.
Yeah, so 6 weeks ago, the NTT20 Academy had only churned out the one. Now we are 3 strong in that academy and excited about it. Pod-wise, things are back to normal. Mondays on the Monday pod, Thursdays on the betting show, from here until the end of the season. A couple of bonus episodes as and when, but thank you for bearing with us during what's been a busy time with 2 lots of paternity leave, and a massive thank you once again to all of our incredible guest hosts, not least Nick Goff, who had a hell of a send-off with not only a nap winner of Grimsby draw no bet, not only a next best winner of Salford win to 0, but again, Omar, show me, anytime, at a double figure price. Absolutely iconic cameos from Goffy George in the last 6 weeks or so.
Has anyone made like a meme of Goffy and Show Me the Money, Joe Maguire moment with Omar showing me somewhere in there, because it feels mad if not?
Yeah, he's had a very profitable spell, residency on the pod, and we thank him very much for that. This show's for over 18s only. We're making betting picks, and betting comes with risks, so be aware of them. Head to gambleaware.org. I'm aware of them at the moment. Since coming back post-baby, I haven't picked a winner, -10 across the 2 weeks. A quick reminder that we cover the EFL transfer window better than anyone else, and I truly mean that. I have got my sales hat on right now, but equally I know that nowhere else gives such a dedicated EFL specific coverage of the January transfer window in the EFL on NTT20.com. 2 bulletins a week with every single done deal covered. Of course, you know, this is quite important, I think, for punting, for outright punting, but also for the 1x2, for the week-to-week stuff. You know, if, for example, Reading get gutted of some of their key young players, as seems to be suggested, what does that mean for the League One top 6 market? If Carlisle United, bottom of League 2 at the moment, sign a whole new team and they've already got 2 in already, what does that mean for the League 2 relegation market? The transfer stuff that happens over the next few weeks is pretty important for that, and we are covering it better than anyone around on NTT20.com. So why not sign up for the month? It's £7 for a month, 72 quid for the year. Just sign up for the month and see what you think. We're putting a lot of good work into it with our team, and we'd love for you to sample it this month in January for the transfer window. George, what's your best bet of this coming weekend? What's your nap?
My nap is in the Championship, and it is QPR to beat Luton on Monday night at 6-4. Yeah, double nap. That is nice. Not getting many double naps at home right now, so it's good to get one here.
Nice.
Yeah, seems a weird price, this. I mean, QPR had some serious issues to start the season, some serious issues at home to start the season. And when they beat Norwich 3-0 on the 7th of December, that was their first home win of the season. But they followed that up with 3 more. So QPR come into this game having won 4 consecutive home games. Those teams they beat were Norwich, Oxford, Preston and Watford. They've scored a total of 10 goals in those 4 games, conceding just 2. So we're seeing like a level of dominance from QPR over their opposition at home that, in terms of scoreline and underlying numbers, looks to me to be pretty sustainable. I had the displeasure of seeing them live in that stretch where they beat Oxford 2-0. I'd be lying if I said I was impressed with them. They weren't very good on the eye, but I think a lot of what makes Marty Cifuentes' QPR good and effective isn't necessarily stuff that you would see in the eye. It's the fact that they consistently prevent the opposition from creating genuinely good chances. They are pretty efficient themselves, and you know, if you look at the way those games went, especially in the case of Norwich, Oxford and Preston, the opposition just couldn't really get near them, and therefore it didn't take too much for QPR to get in front in those games. The Watford game is maybe the only different one, which I watched on, I mean, who knows what day of the week it was, but one of these days in the last week. And it was kind of a similar story where, yes, Watford created some chances, but it was when they were 2-0 down. It was when the game, for the most part, had kind of gone. And even though Watford came back into the game very quickly after that, QPR put themselves clear. That there's been no real jeopardy in these 4 home wins, and they come up against the Luton side, who are really up against it. You know, away from home, they are shocking. I tweeted after the Rooney news that to my mind, Plymouth Argyle away from home are the worst team relative to their league that I can remember ever seeing. And a Luton fan replied saying, well, what about Luton? And even though I would say that Argyle are levels worse, he's got a point. You know, you look at their away form this season, they've drawn one game, they've won one game. Those were back in August and September, and since then they've lost every single one with a defeat, a deep dale in between those. And again, they're losing by massive margins. 5-1 at Borough, 3-0 at Leeds, 4-2 at Norwich. Teams are just consistently beating them. And even the 2-1 defeat against Swansea after Christmas. Yes, Swansea scored late and Luton took the lead early, but Luton took the lead thanks to a goalkeeping error. It was their only shot in the first hour of that game, and Swansea were completely dominant and would totally deserve their late goal to make it 2-1. I can't really work out why QPR are 6-4 to win this game. They look very, very obviously, to me, they're the better team of the two. There's also just massive discontent at Luton right now. The Rob Edwards situation is getting a bit nasty, I would say, where I think Luton fans probably feel that he should be walking, that he should be choosing to leave the club for reasons that mean that it's very, very rare that you get managers walking out the door. It seems pretty clear that Rob Edwards isn't going to do that, doesn't want to do that. And for whatever reason, whether it's loyalty or financial reasons, the Luton hierarchy don't seem willing to pull the plug. And that can make things very, very toxic. I think it's quite rare that you see managers and clubs kind of rally and battle back when it goes this far. Like, I think often you can give credit to clubs and to boards and to decision makers for not pulling the trigger early. But I think when there is such obvious malaise in every single facet of the club, it's hard for me to see any real evidence right now as to why Luton will improve in the short term, even if there is, the potential to improve long term. So I don't see any reason really why Luton will be able to trouble QPR more than the teams they've already beaten, given how poor they've been. And QPR have shown a real cutting edge in front of goal that should continue. So yeah, 6-4 about QPR here seems like a gift.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. Easily the standout value for me this weekend, and a Luton side that have lost 10 out of 12 this season on the road, but who I think are getting worse, not better. There's a phrase that I definitely picked up off you, which I'm pretty confident is pretty specific to horse racing, and which you use quite a lot in a number of different contexts, is gone out of the game, or as you often just write on WhatsApp, GATG. If you Google that phrase, it really is like only betting and or horse racing forums that you find any hits for, which I quite like.
I feel seen.
But gone at the game was the phrase that sprang to mind when I was thinking about Rob Edwards' Luton, where at this point it doesn't even feel like there's any sort of suggestion that there's a clear route out of this or a clear plan to get out of what is more than a malaise, what is just a really poor football team, shambolic at the back, quite good at the very top of the pitch with Adebayo and Morris, but with such a one-dimensional way of playing that I think, it's not a case where opposition are surprised by what Luton are trying to do, but massive issues in the central defensive line, issues at wing-back, issues in midfield as well. Edwards hasn't even got close to solving these issues, and their away record speaks to this real mixture of things. They are poor technically, they have poor shape and a poor game plan, and they have poor mentality and discipline as well. And all that shakes out with a horrendous away record up against a team that have won their last 4 at home, only facing 7 shots on target total in those 4 home wins against Norwich, Oxford, Preston and Watford QPR. So in my eyes, clearly in better shape than Luton, should win this game at home 6-4. The price with AK Bets. That is our double nap. What's your next best?
Stockport to beat Mansfield at 21-20. Again, AK pushed this out to match the best price in the market at time of recording. Stockport come here off the back of a decent 1-1 draw against Birmingham in the first half of the game.
How did I miss this? And how are Stockport... I'm so surprised at their odds against here, given how incredible their underlying numbers have been all season. Normally, team like that at home against a team whose underlyings are mid at best would be certainly odds on.
There you go. Move on. Job done. Yeah, that's basically it. I mean, and they come here off the back of a display against Birmingham that really impressed me. They went behind early to an Alfie May goal. The first half was a game of very, very few chances. But in the second half, they came out and they were by far the better team. They got the equaliser through Southern Hales and he hit the post later on in the game to make it 2-1. And there's no doubt in my mind that Stockport fans leaving the game would have been really frustrated and really annoyed that they weren't able to make their dominance in the second half count and to win the game 2-1 as they probably deserve to do based in the second half. That's a Birmingham side who we know are so strong, concede so few chances. And, you know, there was, of course, the game against Wickham, the 5-0 defeat that was pretty strange. But generally, if you look at Stockport's results at home this season, they've been so strong. Like, it's really hard for me to understand why. You know, I think at home they're one of the strongest teams in the league. Yes, they've had the Wickham game, the Leyton Orient game, but since then they beat Bolton 5-0, they beat Wrexham 1-0, they beat Peterborough 2-1, and you know, arguably they should have made it 5 wins from 5 against Birmingham on Wednesday afternoon, up against the Mansfield side who come here off the back of two really strong, a really good home win against Bolton. But, you know, away from home in particular, they've struggled against the better teams in the league. They've already been beaten away at teams such as Wrexham, Wickham, Bolton, Reading, teams who currently occupy, you know, the top 8 or 9 places in the league, and Stockport is certainly that. So this, really stuck out like a sore thumb to me. Obviously, there's the Louis Barry angle, but I just can't imagine that Barry being recalled from his loan, as good a player as he is and as important as he's been to Stockport, it can't move the needle enough to push this out to a price away from what we'd expect it to be out to 21-20. So I expect Stockport to win this, and I'm very surprised that I can more than double my money by backing them to do so.
It's Grimsby DNB for my NB at 9-4. Bradford have shortened since the opening prices for this game, and I'm not really sure why, because possibly the most significant injury news that any club could have, I reckon, in the 72, is that Andy Cook got injured very early on against Barrow on New Year's Day, and the ball was played into him back to goal. He took a touch and pulled up straight away with a knee injury. No contact. It wasn't a contact injury. And I may be completely wrong, but based on non-scientific but anecdotal knowledge, that seems to me to be the sort of injury to the sort of body part that does not see you back starting within 5 days. So Andy Cook's out, and the club are being coy about exactly how long for, which makes sense. They're getting it looked at, probably waiting for some swelling to come down. But I'm pretty confident that Cook is missing this game, and it's a massive, massive loss. And he's barely missed any games for the last 3.5 years. Not only that, he has scored exactly 1/3 of their league goals in the last 3.5 seasons. I can pretty much guarantee there will not be another player in the EFL who scores that percentage of his team's goals over that period of time. He takes the most shots. He's the most dependable goal threat for Bradford. For years, I've been saying the thing that is stopping Bradford from taking it to the next level as an attacking team is getting a secondary and a tertiary goal scorer consistently. Now, they have got other players that can be a goal threat, but still no one consistently so. Callum Kavanagh is a lively foil for Cook, and he did have a decent flurry of goals at the back end of last season. And his underlying numbers, his XG, it suggests that he can and will score goals, but he's very wasteful in front of goal. Bobby Poynton has goals in him from an attacking midfield position, but as a focal point, there is no one that can offer what Cook offers. Sanderson, the loanee, might come in, doesn't offer nearly the same nous and physicality of Cook. And I think when you've played with a striker like that for 3.5 seasons, and your defenders love to go long, and your Richie Smallwood loves to go long into him, when you lose that focal point, I think that is going to have a huge impact on how you're able to play, how you're able to attack. So a big job for Bradford just to work out how to attack without Cook. And they come up against a Grimsby team who I can't get much of a steer on, really. Crazy results this season. The underlying numbers are poor and definitely don't reflect their points return. Away from home, 6 wins, 1 draw and 5 defeats. So feast or famine, really. I think the one thing I will say that I can really hang my hat on with Grimsby is they're one of the best counter-attacking teams in the league. They've scored a ton of counter-attacking goals recently, and they seem to be excellent when they get the chance to do so. Flooding forward, pace and quality from wide areas. And I think all of those factors combined make Grimsby really good value at 9-4. With the draw taken out of it, they're over 3-1 to win the game. So excited for that. 9-4, Grimsby, draw no bet, up at Valley Parade. The Cookless Bradford. For anyone looking to sign up to AK Bets, use the promo code NTT100. Now, the link is in the show notes. The offer is, if your first bet is an accumulator on football with a minimum of 4 selections, AK Bets will boost the profit gained on that initial bet by 25% in the form of a free bet up to a value of £100. Further T's and C's accessible on the website. Click the link in the description to take advantage of the sign-up offer. As you guys know, AK Bets like to be top price or match top price or near enough on all of our selections, and also have that promo code if you're thinking of having an accumulator on football this weekend. So, next up, Goalscorer.
I'm backing Malik Mothersill to score any time for Peterborough away at Wrexham. I like the look of this for a few reasons. Mothersill has played off the left for the majority of the season for Posh, but he played through the middle last time out in the 2-2 draw against Burton. So again, you're getting a player who's kind of having a positional change as Posh looked to change shape on against Burton. They played with Chris Clark is playing as the 10 behind Ricky J. Jones and Mothersill. So Mothersill should be playing as a striker again here, you think, if they stick to that formula. He's someone who gets into good locations. He's a decent finisher. He's relatively young, but at 4-1 playing up top for a Posh side, generally I think that's going to be good value. And coupled into that, they're a big price to win this game. They're not playing very well. They've won one game in the last 10 or however many it is. They're in serious trouble. And that's why we're getting a pretty big price about their players to score against a Wrexham side who are so dominant at home. And we definitely haven't seen the kind of high-scoring affairs that we saw Wrexham have last season in League One at home. For the most part now, they win and they show some dominance in winning those games. But we know what Peterborough's approach will be. We know the way that Darren Ferguson will set them up. There's very little chance they're going to look to sit in and soak. And in a weird way, I think if they go behind relatively early, it kind of fits this, where it should then become a game where Peterborough throw men forward. And even if they are well beaten, I'd fancy them to get 1 or 2 goals in the process. So, naturally when a team is a big price to score, so a big price to win a game, their player is going to be a big price to score. But I think 2 things can be true here. I think you can agree that Wrexham are the solid favourites and should win this game, but also think that the Posh players are overpriced to score themselves because, I think overs is a bet here, and I think there should be plenty of goals. So, 2 angles of attack. Firstly, the Mothersill playing through the middle and up front should help, but also I fancy Posh to create chances in the game that I probably do expect them to lose.
Mothersill.
Yeah.
Get well soon.
Thank you.
My goal scorer is Ollie O'Neill of Leyton Orient, the form books. Leyton Orient, flying up League One from 20th or 21st to 8th at the moment, racking up the wins recently. It's 6 in their last 7 games, 5 of those 6-0, the 3-2 win at Bristol Rovers. Incredible run of form, and all season they were all right defensively to start the season. They were struggling to create chances consistently. Welland's getting very frustrated around the October time when he just didn't feel like the players at the top of the pitch were giving him what he needed. And I thought they would just sort of trot along until January, probably sign 3 attacking players and have a pretty underwhelming season in mid-table, bottom half of the table. But instead, this group of attacking players have massively stepped up. And what's notable is the Spurs loanee, Jamie Donnelly in particular, has really got to grips with life as a senior pro and is contributing to goals pretty much every game at the moment. Charlie Kellman, very lively attacker with great movement and fairly questionable finishing. He's on a bit of a hot streak at the moment. Ajay has been brilliant as a kind of all-rounder at the top of the pitch. And then you've got Ollie O'Neill and Sonny Perkins as well contributing. O'Neill's the one for me at the price. They're at home to Shrewsbury, a Shrewsbury side that have conceded 2 goals a game away from home this season. And albeit I get the feeling that they are a little bit more competitive under Ainsworth, they have still conceded 7 goals in their 3 away games under Ainsworth, so still struggling to keep opposition teams at bay. And O'Neill playing off the left of the attack, really good at doing what you want your inverted wingers to do, coming inside and getting shots off. He's gone pretty wild this Christmas on that front, actually, against Crawley. On Boxing Day, he had 4 shots, didn't score, but got an assist Against Cambridge on the 29th, he had 4 shots, including 1 goal. And then against Bristol Rovers, he didn't start the game, I guess rotated out, came on at half-time because Jai Simi was playing poorly, had 3 shots in the second half with no goals. So O'Neill seems to be in that nice rhythm at the moment where he's able to get shots off with reckless abandon. And I think it's 7-2, given how short Orient are and how dominant you'd expect them to be at home to Shrews. I think the 7-2 about an Ollie O'Neill goal is decent value, so he's my goal scorer. Now, what's your long shot?
My long shot is Wigan to win to 0, continuing win to 0 Winter even into the new year at home to Birmingham at 7-1.
Suggestion there that Winter stops on the 31st of December and doesn't, straddle.
Given that Winter started in August, I think that's a fair distinction to make. I basically, this isn't a massive anti-Birmingham thing, although, it's worth pointing out that in terms of their underlying numbers away from home, from an attacking perspective, Birmingham are bang mid-table. In terms of their chance creation away from home, they are 9th or 10th in the league for expected goals per 90. That's massively mitigated by the fact that their defensive record away from home is basically the best in the league. And they're playing against a Wigan side who are defensively really sound, who don't create loads of chances. In my mind, this is a game where I would be really surprised, unless, we've seen Birmingham do it before, they did it at Exeter. But if this goes by the form book, I think this will be a game of very, very few chances. A game that'll probably finish 0-0, 1-0, 1-1, low margin, not many opportunities to score. And therefore, I think Birmingham are too short, because I think it's basically going to come down to finishing ability. It's going to come down to who takes the few chances that they've got. And there might be some argument to be said that Birmingham have better individuals at taking chances than Wigan, but there is a huge price disparity between these two teams, despite what I think will be a very low margin game of few chances. And therefore, for Wigan to be 7-1, to be the team to get the nose in front, who keep loads of clean sheets at home, up against the Birmingham side who, as I say, don't create too much on the road, it's just a big price on what I think should be much, much closer between the two. I think Birmingham at home for the most part, albeit we saw them held relatively comfortably by Blackpool last time out at home. There is a bit of a trend at the moment around them kind of struggling to create goals, scoring opportunities from open play. We're seeing them score quite a few penalties, seeing own goals and the like. And Wigan are a team who don't give much away, especially at home. So yeah, my kind of forecast for this is for it to be low scoring and not a great watch and not much going on in either box. And so at the prices available, I'm willing to take a chance on Wigan being the ones to get the decisive goal and to take their chances.
Light and shade in this episode. The light of a double nap, where we join forces to hopefully cheer QPR on to success at Loftus Road at home to Luton Town. But the shade of being completely opposed here, in that Birmingham win to 0 is part of a win to 0 Winter double that forms my long shot.
So it's not totally against each other, because we both agree then on the to 0 part. It's just the team that comes first is the issue.
Exactly. Leeds win to 0 and Birmingham win to 0. Both away sides. Leeds at Hull, Birmingham at Wigan. Let's do Birmingham first, because you just spoke about that game. I mean, yeah, you say Wigan keep clean sheets at home. They do, 4 in their 10 games. What they do more often, 5 times in their 10 games, is fail to score. They've lost to 0 3 times at home in their 10 games this season already. They've scored 9, so 0.9 goals per game. They concede 9, 0.9 goals per game. So I certainly agree with you in how this one's going to look. I just happen to believe, and look, I'm not saying anything particularly crazy, as you say, given Birmingham a very short price to win, and I'm getting with that side of things, that I think Birmingham have more quality, are more likely to score the potentially single goal that it takes in this game. I often feel Wigan flattered to deceive at home and are almost better off playing away from home, where they seem to be able to counter-attack a little bit easier anyway. But also, Birmingham generally control territory, they generally reduce shots, and they've got stronger throughout the season, particularly with Allsop taking the gloves off Bailey Peacock-Farrell. They've stopped conceding from set pieces. They've kept clean sheets in 5 of their last 7, and that's what I always expected to happen, and is very much playing out in front of us. Of their 22 league games, they have faced 3 shots on target or fewer in 14. It's not Leeds level defensively, but they do control things, and I think if they win this game, as I expect them to, there's a good chance it's 2-0. I'm doubling that up with Leeds to win 2-0. Now, this is more compelling stats-wise for sure. We've obviously picked Leeds to win 2-0 quite a few times this season, so it won't come as a huge surprise. I mean, this has landed in 12 of their 25 games this season, 48%. In 10 of their 25 league games, they have faced either 1 or no shots on target in 10 of their 25 league games. In 23 of their 25 league games, they have faced 3 shots on target or fewer. I mean, I'm using the StatHead archive. That's basically FB Ref's full-on archive, right? Which they keep behind a paywall because it's pretty hot stuff. According to that, if I've done my criteria properly, this Leeds team face fewer shots on target than any championship team on record, which is not hugely surprising. That's what I was expecting to be the case. But indeed, fewer shots on target than any Premier League team on record, and their Premier League records go back quite a long way. Facing fewer shots on target than any Man City team under Guardiola that have won the league by, getting 90 plus points. So they really, really are incredible at suppressing opposition shots. And Hull are doing okay under Ruben Selles. Some good performances and results, some poor performances and results. I just think the golfing class at the moment, with Leeds having shown their quality at Stoke, at Derby, I think win 2-0 is a decent option, even though they are away from home, where they tend to find things a little tougher than at Ellen Road. So Leeds to win 2-0 at Hull, Birmingham to win 2-0 at Wigan is 6-1 with AK Bets. You can back that. You can find it on the specials section of the football part of the AK Bets website, where you will also find an under 2.5 goals quad. George.
Yeah, Blackburn, Burnley, they say don't bet on the early kickoff. I always laugh at that, and then whenever I do one, they always seem to lose. So let's go again. A game between two sides who don't like each other very much. There was quite a lot of goal action in the reverse of these two, but I can't really see that being the case with Blackburn at home. Burnley having kind of flirted with improving from an attacking standpoint, have kind of regressed again back to where they were previously. We've seen them have back-to-back 0-0 draws. Their last 3 games have all copped under 2.5. Still haven't had a game that's gone over 3 goals since their 5-0 win over Cardiff in the second game of the season. They are a team to follow generally for unders. And similarly with Blackburn, it was 0-0 very late in the game against Leeds in midweek before a Leeds penalty, and then Danny Batt scoring a late equaliser, which was a dagger in the heart of us Leeds 0 backers that evening. But generally their games, again, very low margin. 4 without a win for them too. It just seems, and always with rivalries and games where there's a lot riding on it in terms of not necessarily league position, but pride and the rest of things, and they can get very bitty, and it's always, in my mind, a good way to play unders. And then Lincoln Stevenage, the other one, again, 2 teams who their games are generally very low scoring. Really concerning performance from Lincoln in midweek. Very weird performance from them at home against Rotherham. A Rotherham side that really struggled, and Lincoln barely laid a glove on them. Couldn't really get near them for most of the game, and Rotherham deserved their late goal to win that one. And a Stevenage side who, again, they're impressive, but their strong defensive record is the cornerstone for their decent season so far. So, yeah, 2 games there that I fancy to go under 2.5. And I'm kind of surprised that neither of us have actually picked our win 2-0 double long shot game, given that we both think there won't be many goals, but we didn't.
Yeah, it's a bit like the president and the vice president flying on different planes, I think.
Yeah.
In this case, we don't want to just torpedo basically three of our bets in case Tello Asgard and Jay Stansfield go goal crazy. So I'm adding Norwich and Coventry. Norwich and Coventry in an unders quad? What the hell? Yeah, odds against. For me, an interesting bit of value this, because I think sneakily Norwich's games have become quite low margin, or at least low XG combined. I did some data research ahead of this. In the last 7 games in the Championship, barely any team has a lower, in fact only Burnley has a lower combined XG per match in their games as Norwich, which certainly surprised me and led to me thinking that they're quite good value at odds against for this bet. And it's partly also down to Coventry, who, under Lampard, they've had, 8 games. 3 times they've scored 2 goals or more, but all 3 of those were home games against the current bottom 3, Cardiff, Hull and Argyle. In the other 5 games, they've only managed to score 3 goals in that time, so they're not exactly cutting loose at the moment. For Norwich, total non-penalty XG combined in the last 7, they are second lowest in the Championship, with Burnley lower. We've obviously got that Burnley-Blackburn game in there as well. And then Burton and Northampton, similar stats and analysis has led to the conclusion that Burton and Northampton are both absolutely horrendous going forward. And I probably didn't need to bother spending the time doing any stats and analysis in order to tell me that. They are both exceptionally poor when it comes to chance creation, and Burton in particular have tightened up a lot at the back. So I can't see anything other than a pretty poor game, a pretty low-scoring game. So that one's gone in there as well. So the quad is at 15-2 on the special section of the AK Bet site. It's Blackburn, Burnley and Norwich, Coventry in the Championship. It's Lincoln, Stevenage in League One. And it's Burton, Northampton in League Two. It'd be lovely, lovely to start the new year off with something tasty in terms of the unders quad. Just recap your selections, mate, and then we'll crack on with the weekend.
My nap is QPR to beat Luton at 6-4, Stockport 21-20. At home to Mansfield is my next best. Wigan to beat Birmingham 10-0 at 7-1 is my long shot. And Malik Mothersill anytime for Peterborough at Wrexham at 4-1 is my Goalscorer.
My nap is QPR to beat Luton at 6-4. Grimsby, draw no bet away at Bradford, 9-4. Ollie O'Neill of Leyton Orient to score anytime for Leyton Orient at home to Shrewsbury, 7-2. And my long shot, Leeds win 0 at Hull, plus Birmingham win 0 at Wigan. The double at 6-1. The under 2.5 goals quad at 15-2 is Blackburn, Burnley, Norwich, Coventry, Lincoln, Stevenage, Burton, Northampton. It's great to be back with you, my friend. I'm really excited to kick off the new year with you. We've got lots to discuss, lots to plan. We reflected on what was a pretty incredible 2024. I think there were 130 pods that went out on the feed last year, 190 posts on ntt20.com, and hopefully we continued to consistently create good quality EFL and EFL betting content for you guys, while also expanding our horizons with the England pod and some other stuff. Monday's pod is really exciting. We're going to do a huge festive recap. There'll have been 4 rounds of fixtures since we last did a Monday pod, so loads of stuff to talk about, winners and losers of the festive period, and then the Monday after that, mid-season predictions. So lots to be excited about on the NTT20 pod to kick off January. Thank you very much to AK Bets for sponsoring our betting show, and to you for listening to it. Cheers and go well.